Hey, good morning, natural retailers. Welcome to my morning drive into work where I get my best thinking done. Today's topic on the morning drive, and I've been thinking a lot about, we face it every single day, is natural retailers kind of price cutting themselves out of business potentially. And I don't want to be too dramatic about that, but let me get to my point on it. Let me start off by telling you a little story. When I was back at another whole food supplement company that I worked for, we partnered with a very large retailer that has vitamin stores all over the U.S., and we were able to do a test on that retailer. And the retailer was pushing us very hard to do a lot of deep discounting, about 30%. And I was able to talk to them about doing a test. And the test basically was we picked 5 stores in the New York area, and we picked 5 stores in the Texas area. And New York and Texas might not seem that similar, but we were able to kind of match up the store demographics such that, you know, one store was about college students, one store was about older clientele, one store was more about families. So we were able to, and all the stores were about the same size. So we really did some homework. We picked 5 stores that were very similar. In the New York stores, we marked our product down on end cap for 1 month at 20%. In the Texas stores, we marked our same product, same end caps down to 30%. So Texas was 30, New York was 20. And the long story short, after a month's worth of sales, we went back and analyzed the data. And as you would expect, the 30% stores in Texas sold a lot more units. I mean, we really just plowed through a ton of units. But when we did the math on the profit, the actual dollars made by the stores, the 20% stores in New York made a lot more money. In fact, a lot more money. And so the moral of the story here is you have to sell a lot more units to make up for that deeper discount than you would, you know, by leaving it at the 20%. So in the end, what we were able to figure out was that the New York stores at 20% were more profitable, and we still had the right amount of customers that would buy to that 20% and saw the right amount of value. So that's a mind shift that the natural retailer needs to think about. And not across the board, and we'll talk more about that, but not across the board, but it's a mind shift, because the natural retail space that I'm familiar with and that I've been working with for over 15 years now really thinks about things in a certain way, and it's very simple. If I get a discount, I pass it on to my customer. And discounting helps, and coupons help in general, and a lot of times those general assumptions get applied to the whole category of supplements in particular. And it might get applied to other categories in the store. And I'm here to tell you that that's not how mass thinks. When we talk about combating mass slippage, we're all worried or concerned about losing customers to mass. That's not how mass thinks at all. In fact, mass recognizes that your customers are on a bell curve. And that bell curve means on this end of the bell curve, you might have 5, 10, 20% of your customers, and it depends on the store, who are very price sensitive. Very, very price sensitive, meaning they're going to buy on price no matter what, especially the longer end of the tail on the end of this bell, right? Bell curve. On the longer end of this tail, those are the people that are going to come in. They're going to always come in. They're going to look at your shelf. They're going to pull out their smartphone. They're going to go to Amazon, or they're going to go to the internet, and they're going to find that product for as cheap as they possibly can. That is always going to be 1 or 2 or maybe 3, depending on your store, out of 10 customers. So we just have to accept that, okay? 1 or 2 of your customers out of 10 are always going to be price sensitive. Now the opposite is also true. On the other end of this bell curve, down on this end, there is 10%, 1 or 2 or 3 customers that are never going to buy on price. They're about brand. They're about the story. They're about that premium product. They want the best. They want the absolute best. So, and that happens to be the mega food customer. We've got data, and we call her Vibrant Vanessa. Many of you have seen that. We've done monster studies for thousands of dollars to figure out who our customer is. We call her Vibrant Vanessa. She never talks about price. Unaided. We ask her what's important to her about her brand. Not once has she ever mentioned price. What she mentions is passion, a company she can believe in, a story. She wants transparency. She wants to know where these things are coming from. She wants to know and love her brand deeply. And she wants to really believe that we're passionate about what we do, and we try to give that to her. So she, Vanessa, the mega food customer, for example, is going to be on this end of that bell curve. It's going to be on this end of that bell curve, right? So she is fantastic for your company because if you sell her story, if you give her story, you don't necessarily have to give her 20 or 30% off. Now, I'm not trying to, gouge Vanessa at all. What I'm trying to say is that for brands like ours, or for premium brands, not just in the supplement aisle, but in the cereal aisle or in the dairy aisle, for those premium brands, those brands are investing a lot more in quality. They're investing a lot more in supply chain transparency. They're investing a lot more in education. They're investing a lot more in services to you, trying to give you good reps and good training, etc. So those investments are made in a different way than a price brand is. A price brand isn't necessarily making those investments the same way as a premium brand. So by putting those premium brands on 30% off, you're basically leaving dollars on the table. But even worse, you are creating a climate where you're training those Vanessas to look for a price. You're training those premium customers to look for price, which hurts you as soon as a brand, any of those brands, goes to mass. Because now mass is going to beat you on price. There is absolutely zero way that a natural retailer is going to compete with a mass retailer on price. Zero way. They've got all the advantages from a supply chain standpoint. They've got all the advantages from a pricing standpoint. Heck, in the natural space, we expect a certain margin, a certain, standard margin. We've been hearing it for 20 years. Got to have a certain margin on supplements. Well, take that margin, and you know what it is, and cut it in half, and recognize that that's going to be one of the largest margins in a mass retailer. Even your margin that you're expecting cut in half is going to be a large margin for a retailer. So they can cut our margin in half and still be extremely pleased because they're going to move more volume. Okay, it's a volume margin game here. So recognize that the natural retailer will never be able to compete on price. And when you take those premium brands and you price promote them all the time, what's happening is you're training that premium customer to look for a price, and you're redefining the price of that product. And then if a brand slips to mass, now you're done, because you've taught that premium customer how to buy on price. Now, you and I both know that the reason why your customers are coming in isn't necessarily price. There are some customers coming in for price, and your top customers will take the price. If you offer 30% off, they'll stock up, they'll take it. But the main reason they're coming into your store is for service, for staff, for education, for the training, to connect to the center of health and wellness in the community that the natural retailer is. That's why your customer's coming in. So give them more of that, and you can give them less of the price game, and it will help you in the long run. Now, at the beginning of this little video, I talked about price cutting your way out of business. And let me just expand on that and maybe wrap up the video by saying this. If you get in the price war, if you get in the price game, your margins come down. The amount of cash that you make per product, even if you're passing on a discount, even if you're passing on that discount from the manufacturer, the amount of cash you're making per bottle in the supplement aisle, the amount of cash you're making, per thing of yogurt, per cereal, everything, that cash comes down. Now, though your units go up, your units have to go up proportional to the amount of sales that you're getting in order to get the same amount of cash ultimately. Remember my earlier example about the New York, Texas? So just recognize when your cash comes down per bottle, you've got less cash to work with. And that puts pressure on your model as a retailer. Long term, and you might not be feeling the pressure today, but if more and more of these brands slip to mass and you try to keep up with them on the price game, you're going to get less dollars per bottle. That means less cash in the till. That means less cash to work with. And what's the first place your mind's going to go when you've got less cash? It's cost cutting. And one of the biggest, if not the biggest cost in your store is staff. It's people. And I've seen this happen over and over and over with retailers where they get in that price game, their cash starts to dwindle, and they start thinking, I've got to start cutting staff. I've got to start cutting hours. And as soon as you do that, you're taking the number one thing that you have to compete with mass, and you're starting to cut that back. Now you're in real trouble, and that can become a big drain. You can price cut your way out of business, because that's the reason people are coming to your store, is for that staff. Do you see that pressure? Do you see that price, expense, margin pressure? That's a big deal, okay? That's a huge deal. So let's think about that. I'm in your corner. Combat mass slippage is all about retailers helping retailers. I've seen too many retailers fall in this trap, and they end up getting really hurt by it. So I want you to succeed. All of us at Mega Food want the natural retailer to succeed because we're in the business of improving lives, and we're inspired by the fact that the natural retailer is the center for health and wellness in their community, and we want you to succeed. So think about that the next time you think about price. And Mega Food does price. We do price promotions twice a year. We'll do line drives just to make sure people know who we are and how we do things. So we're not anti-price. We're just, and we're not anti-price from a price brand. You should have a price brand so those 1 or 2 or 3 customers that are always about price can go to a product and get satisfied in your store. But you should also have those premium brands that aren't focused on price, where you can really talk about a story, really educate the consumer, take them on a story and to a deeper level, and really satisfy those consumers in a different way. And the ones in the middle, you get to decide, do you want to take them to price or do you want to take them to story and premium? And you can decide for the bulk in the middle of that bell curve. So hopefully this was helpful. Love you, love natural retailers. Mega Food is in the business of helping you guys to succeed and through you improve lives. So comment below, tell me what you think. If I'm full of it, if you don't agree, let's have a dialogue. I welcome that all day long. And thanks for joining me on my morning drive. Talk to you guys soon. Take care.